Hello, my friends. So, the holidays, they're wonderful, absolutely wonderful, but also exhausting. And of course, life with chronic illness is exhausting enough in itself. But then you add a big event, and it's not even just a day long event, it's a month long, or if you start in November, 2 months long, and it's this endless run up that is just busy, 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 busy. And when you already have a chronic illness that you're coping with, and it takes all your pain and energy, it's a lot. And it usually ends up with you flaring and not enjoying. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, everyone. I'm Lena Anderson, and we'll talk about how to create magic and enjoy the holidays with chronic illness. I'm also going to, it would have been good to if I had actually prepared. It's been a day, at least it's on my, yeah. The benefit of live things is that the phone goes off, but I'm also going to be reading from this little book that I wrote a few years ago, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. Why do people call me? They mean nothing all day. The minute I go live, there it is. Alrighty, so do you wreck yourself every year for the holidays as I do? Listen, so now, and partly in thanks to actually writing the book. Um, but what's your biggest problem? What's the biggest obstacle? What can you imagine might help, but you haven't quite found a way to deal with it? Let me know in the comments, and maybe I can help, or maybe we can crowdsource it. I am live streaming, I believe, should be live streaming, also on you, both on Facebook and YouTube because of multitasking. So there's description box and comments and all the rest. Um, so, that life with chronic illness is a balancing act. It requires a lot of time and attention, and there's, pain and fatigue that affects not only everything you do, but how much you can do. And you add the holidays on top of that, and things get extra wobbly. And I know I do. There is, even though I try to minimize, and my family is getting more and more relaxed about it, and we have shifted the date. We have, my ear is itchy. It's a good thing about a headrest. um and we usually don't give presents or many presents to the adults anymore, but nevertheless we all run around like chickens with our heads cut off, and it's awful. So I'm going to share tips from this, and I want to tell you a little bit about this. It's called Chronic Christmas: How to Survive the Holidays with a Chronic Illness, and it has tips. It's sort of like an advent calendar where there's a tip per day. You're not limited to only reading one a day. Of course, you can do whatever you want, but each chapter has a tip on how, maybe by reeling in your impulse to do it all, can actually make the whole holiday more magical, not just for you, but for everyone else involved. It's about being more deliberate, more thoughtful, less frantic, really, because franticness ruins any attempt at kind of leaning in and spending time with each other. So each chapter has a tip for you, but because asking for help is almost impossible for us, then it also has a section for family and friends who want to help but isn't quite sure how. And it can actually be used as a base for starting to have these conversations with the people who love you, about help and how to rejig your life in a way that puts less stress on you by everybody sharing everything. Um, and I want to be specific and say I'm focusing on Christmas today, because it's an important part of my tradition. But that doesn't mean just because this book has Christmas in the title, it doesn't mean that it can only be used for Christmas. It just kind of helps with the Advent calendar thing. Um, but it can be used for all the tips in there, most of them anyway, can be used for any large event that you might celebrate. It doesn't matter. Like it can be adapted to different holidays from different faiths and traditions and cultures, or it can be used. You can kind of take the ideas of these chapters and modify them to use for things like planning a wedding. Um, but so when I say Christmas, just know that it is not just Christmas. And don't you love it when you have an extra page in your notes? I'm live, can you tell? Um, and I think I want to also be clear that I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for this live, so I'm kind of just riffing because an unexpected, large and important thing came up in my own life. So this whole week I was supposed to pace myself, but I didn't get there. So I wrote some of these notes like 20 minutes before I went live today. So please forgive the babbling, okay? I want to say a hi out there in the comments. My mom is there. Hello, Mom. Let's wave to my mother. And Michelle says, oh, that is so nice. She says, I own Chronic Christmas and I reread it every year. It has helped me tremendously, in all caps. I love that. Thank you so much. And then Vicky is out there as well. Hello, Vicky. Nice to see you today. You guys know that I love it when the comment section kind of lights up with all sorts of comments and feedback and sharing of stories, because this whole thing becomes a conversation rather than just me babbling into the board. So let's talk about Christmas and substitute your own holiday here. It is a placeholder for whatever you love. But yeah, Christmas, I love everything about it. I am Danish originally, and as many of you know, and arguably the Danes do Christmas better than anyone else. I am slightly biased, I know that, but it is kind of well known. Like every year, there's articles about the Danish approach, or it's Scandinavian, but especially Danish approach to the holiday season, and it has a warmth, and we're going to talk in some detail into it. The word hygge, you've probably seen it. It's spelled Hygge. I'm going to talk about this a bit more later, but one of the things I love about Danish Christmas is that it is not necessarily religious. The Danes, although we are all more or less members of the state church, which is Protestant Lutheran, very few people actually go to church. And if pinned into a corner, very few would probably say that they believe in God. And yet we wallow in all the Christmas. So, it depends. If your faith means that Christmas is special to you, that's great. But I think that you can enjoy the season regardless of whether you're Christian or I'm kind of agnostic. I'm on the fence. But Christmas, love it. I love the carols, the music, the shopping, the decorations, the baking, and wrapping gifts and finding gifts for people. And you know that when you find just the right thing, and it is almost more exciting. Yeah, let's face it, it's more exciting to see someone unwrap just the right thing than actually getting stuff yourself. Although I do love a present. And I really love the cookies. There's like Christmas cookies. So much better than any cookie. I love the smell of the pine and all the Christmas trees being sold on a corner. I love walking by that in the snow, which we had today. It's actually winter wonderland out there, which is kind of a little weird. It's early, but we have a Christmas tree sales person who comes back year and after year to this neighborhood, and just walking by in the cold and doing that deep inhale of the sound, or not the sound, the smell of pine needles. Oh, it's the best. I love all the vibrant colors that brighten up an otherwise drab winter and time of year. And yes, and as the cookies. But it also has a lot of stress because you want to create a perfect Christmas for the people you love. And I'm going to again be live because my ear is so itchy. Ah, these things are fantastic, by the way. Helps me reach things I can't reach or can't reach comfortably. It helps me hit elevators buttons. It helps me scratch myself. It helps me reach like if there's something that's really far away. Are you interested in me leaving a link to these? Let me know because this one I got it um, in a pack of 5. Consider it your a gift to yourself. Sorry, I was itchy. I got sidetracked, but I love the collapsible thing. Um, so let's talk about Christmas stress. And again, like let me know what your biggest stress is. Um, but like they're individual part of stressors, but everything comes under it comes under an umbrella of you want to create this perfect holiday for the people you love, but your chronic illness demands so much on even a regular day that you got nothing left over. Like there's nothing in the tank. So how do you do this? And it becomes this intense reminder of how your chronic illness affects your life and your ability to do things for the people who mean a lot to you. Um, and it can bring a lot of that sadness up again. You might be okay during the rest of the year, but or on a average day, you're kind of either suppressing those feelings or you come to accept them. But then something like the holidays come along, and all of a sudden you get smacked in the head with all of it, and it's rough. Like, is this something you experience? Um, and many of us try to push through anyway, and before you know it, you are in pain, exhausted, and you're not enjoying any of it. You're just like, I just want to get through. I'm just waiting for the 26th or the 27th, and then I will collapse in a heap and not move for a week. And like, should we stop that? Like, how about actually save up enough energy and wellness that we can enjoy the whole thing without quite so much stress? There's going to be some stress, let's face it. But maybe also not have to spend the time between Christmas and New Year's actually healing. Sorry. I accidentally added hair in my ear. Did I mention I was live? Yes. It's a little actually chaotic today. Um, and I know I'm not the only one who will always end up in that mega flare, which then means that if you have any time off for the holidays, you don't actually get to enjoy that. Not only don't you enjoy the big holiday, you don't enjoy the next week where you could actually kind of loaf around or go out seeing friends or take a walk or do something seasonal and lovely. Instead, you're just lying flat in pain and everybody's having fun without you. And that's no good. And I got really sick of that. So I decided to do something about it. And often doing something about it for me, because I'm a writer, I write it out. And that became this. It started as, well, there's a saying that authors often write the book they need, which was what I did, because there was no guidance for how do you do something. How do you try to make things magical? How do you enjoy things when you have no energy and you're pain, right? It started as a series of blog posts one year as a kind of advent calendar, but And people really liked it, and I really liked it, and they were kind of just aching to become something more. So I rewrote a lot of things, added the section with tips for family and friends, added some surprises, because what is these kind of holidays without surprises? Yes, I'm a nerd, I know. So and part of what that is about asking for help. Um, so let's dive into that a little bit. Oh, sorry. Do you have trouble asking for help? Like, I know the asking in itself as a category is really difficult, but then getting specific can be even more difficult. For instance, we all know people who will say, like, if you need any help, just reach out. I'm here for you. And you say, thanks, that's lovely. And then you go, I don't know what kind of help I need. Because you know that help would make your life easier. But then there's that whole tangle about it feeling shameful and that you should be totally independent. And my friends, that's a crock of BS. I actually did a whole live on asking for help in August. And if you check out my video tab, it might be, is it on my YouTube channel? I am not sure, but it will be. Otherwise, on my Facebook page, under videos, you can look for the August. And I delved into this whole idea of independence as being a cultural myth, because we are all interdependent. We all rely on someone else, unless, like, if you're watching this on a computer, you're relying on other people showing up in order for you to watch it. Like, you're relying on people who make the computer, people who created internet, your provider, the people who hooked you up to the internet. You're relying on people going to work to create electricity, all the things. Like, we all rely on so many other people every day. And yet, you can't create a community or a neighborhood or a city that isn't completely interdependent, where everyone relies on multiple other people at every moment of the day. And yet, we perpetuate this myth that being independent is the way to do everything on your own. And it is such a stupid thing. So, and that's why I wanted to address getting help. But there is that whole idea about, you may accept that you need help, but the getting there can be so difficult. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who clearly needs help and would have a much better life without it. But when suggested, the person immediately says, I don't need any help, I'm fine. And it's like, really? Uh-huh. And I saw somebody on Twitter who, in this economy, just simply can't afford things anymore. Can't work. Still has responsibility. Medications are costing a ridiculous amount of money. Groceries have gone up, and just kind of went, okay, my only choice is to GoFundMe, and then post it on Twitter. That is like, this is so shameful for me, but I can't do it myself anymore. I need help. And then posted this GoFundMe. And I'm like, there is no shame in taking the only action you can. And I don't think there's shame in asking for help when you've tried yourself and you can't. And guess what? Even more, there is no shame in asking for help before you exhaust yourself and wreck yourself trying to do it yourself. It is okay to just say, this would be easier if somebody else did it for me or help me do it, right? Anyway, I get sidetracked. So talk to me about how you ask for help and what are your barriers and everything. And I also want to say hi to Judith in the comments, who is waving to my mother and me, I guess. And then Nancy, who says hi to both of us. Thank you so much. Again, I love when these become a two-way street. So here's the thing. I actually thought the next thing I want to do is read a chapter from this. And I'm going to not read from the book because okay. This, my friends, is a book. An ebook is a book, but this is the book version, right? You get it, right? Anyway, I'm going to read from the ebook version because holding a book actually it hurts my shoulders and my neck and everything. So I'm going to read from the ebook version. And if I look shifty eyes because my eyes are drifting to the side, it's because I'm reading, not because I'm shifty eyed. So I want to read you the entry for December 10th. And it really leans into the whole Danish aspect of my holiday traditions. It's entitled Embrace Your Inner Dane. And I want to, well, not apologize, just warn you, I am not good at reading aloud. I tend to talk too fast, and my voice is a croaky mess because I had a very long meeting. Well, it's croaky in general, but I had a very long meeting yesterday where I talked for like 3 hours. So my voice is wrecked. So just suffer through it, okay? And I'm going to take one of these. I'm going to take a sip. Did that help? Nope, not at all. All right, settle in. Denmark, the country of my birth and childhood, excels at Christmas. It's located far enough north that there's very little daylight during the month of December. What we lack outside, we make up for inside. Every home is strewn with cutout hearts and paper elves lining shelves and any other area where there's space. We stick whole cloves and navel oranges and hang them in the windows with red silk ribbons where they make the room smell amazing. And we get together with friends and colleagues for wonderful long Christmas lunches. The whole country embraces hygge. Embraces what? Hygge is a Danish term that's hard to explain precisely. Cozy gets part of the way there, but not entirely. Hygge is also about intimacy, trust, love, being comfortable with where you are and whom you're with. It often involves good food, having wonderful, supportive conversations, and there is almost always candlelight. It is nothing short of magical. On the website for the book, The Danish Way of Parenting, hygge is described like this. It isn't only because of the candles, the nice food, and the cozy atmosphere. Hygge is about something much deeper. It's about the power of presence and really connecting to others in a drama-free way. It is focusing on what's really important, being together. Sounds good, doesn't it? In Denmark, December is prime hygge time because of the increase in togetherness, yummy food, and yes, you guessed it, candlelight. Despite the busyness of the season, it's quite common for Danish people to be remarkably stress-free leading up to Christmas. I bet that's not a coincidence. Hygge is the best de-stressor I've ever come across. So why not take some time at the end of a busy day to light some candles, gather people you care about, family, friends, maybe your neighbors, and enjoy some food together. Potluck is perfect. Connect to your inner Dane. It might take a bit of practice, but it's the kind of practice you'll love. Quite likely, you'll find that hygge is a natural impulse. Enjoy it. It's good for the soul. So that's the tip for you. Now we're moving on to helping someone with a chronic illness. And this is directed to like family and friends. You may have noticed a trend in the preceding chapters of this book. Whenever I've talked about you helping someone who has a chronic illness, it has always included the two of you enjoying yourselves while you're helping them. That's because I'm Danish and hygge is ingrained in my DNA. Hygge is good for the soul, making you feel connected and loved. It helps you let go of stress and charges your emotional batteries. Although it's possible to practice hygge on your own, it's even better with company. And that's a real stumbling block for people who live with chronic illness. When they barely have enough energy to make it through the day, creating an evening full of warmth, good food, and love for the people they care about is simply not going to happen. And that's where you come in. You likely have people in common with the person you'd like to help. You may be from the same family, or perhaps you have friends or neighbors in common. Volunteer to be a sort of shadow host for your friend. Talk the invitation list out between the two of you. Keep it small, no more than 6 to 8 people, including the two of you and your spouses if you have them. The get together, which is very definitely not a party, should be at your friend's house. After all, they are the official host. However, you will do the more physical host duties. This includes cleaning up and creating a warm and inviting atmosphere. Electric lights should be low with plenty of candles. Don't forget to make those unscented, just in case someone in the group is sensitive to fragrance. Food is important to creating hygge, but it doesn't need to be elaborate. Start with a couple of bottles of wine, as well as non-alcoholic beverages. Then add some nice cheeses and dips, interesting crackers, and a variety of olives and grapes. This will do the trick just nicely. If wine and cheese are likely to trigger migraines for any of your guests, make sure to provide alternatives. Once everyone arrives, take a bit of a back seat and let your friend shine as host. It's one of the best gifts you can give to someone who doesn't often get to entertain. Encourage the guests to sit down in comfortable furniture around a central table that holds the refreshments. You'll find this makes the conversation flow nicely, and it helps everyone to connect in a much warmer and more authentic way than when standing around balancing crackers and a glass of wine. Don't forget the last part of being a host. Stay long enough to help your friend wash the dishes and clean up. So that was chapter 10, and that sort of follows what this book is about. It is about not just saying to people who might want to help, is like, this is a way you can help, but each chapter also explains a little bit of about chronic illness. And that's kind of the sneak attack of helping other people understand what you go through, and maybe create some conversations as a result of that about what is your daily life like, what are your challenges, and these ideas of how someone can help. Like, they may not fit, you may not want to entertain, but other tips in here may help you get together with someone who can lend you a hand in a way that doesn't feel like your burden, like where it becomes about the two of you making hygge together at the same time. So, and I'll be honest, like Michelle, I sometimes reread this because it's so easy to get lost in doing and overdoing that we all need a reminder for putting on the brakes, and admittedly, I need that. Could somebody please smack me every day and say, put on the brakes? But having that reminder that says, okay, like, it's okay to put on the brakes. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to focus on doing less and then really doing the few things you choose. Because what's really important is not a pile of perfectly wrapped gifts. It's 12 kinds of cookies, or going to every holiday party. Like these holidays, no matter which tradition, is about being together with the people you love, and to truly connecting with them, and to spend some special time with them. And the more busy you are, the faster you run, the less special it becomes. There's one of my favorite quotes is from a book called Mindfulness for Beginners. And mindfulness is wonderful, and mindfulness is very big influence on this book. But it says that life is made of moments. The faster you move, the more you miss. And that's very true. So let's not miss anything this holiday, shall we? And I hope that this little book can help you do that, and maybe it becomes part of something really magical. If you're interested in reading this, I'll drop the link in the description box and or the comments or the post on Facebook. It's available in paperback, as you can see, in Kindle, and even in audiobook. And I was really pleased. I did not read this. I did not do this audiobook because I'm not really good at this whole reading aloud business. So I found a narrator who just nails the tone I was going for, because it's not just about the words, it's the tone, right? It's, warmth and humor and all the rest. So I'll drop that link after I'm done being live. And in the meantime, I am just going to, if you have any questions, leave them now. If you're watching this afterwards live, leave questions, comments, stories, whatever, because I'll be hovering in the comments and keeping the conversation going. Nancy says that she told her husband the spoons analogy, and now he just says, don't use all your spoons when he sees me going too long or hard. And that's brilliant, right? Because when you find a way to communicate, like a really easy way, and the spoon analogy is wonderful, then people get it, and they can then go, like, actually be that helpful. And because like, you get lost in doing, I do it all the time, right? And Nancy's husband just says, don't use all your spoons, and you go, right, thank you, and then you slow down. Or if you choose to keep going, then at least you know that you're going to wreck yourself, right? And I think for me, that whole knowledge that, well, I have to do this, or I want to do this, and I know I'm going to suffer at the end, but it'll be worth it. That's a completely different experience than feeling sideswiped unpredictably by being wrecked, right? It's all about about giving yourself choices. You may not have a choice. That's another quote by one of my favorite writers, Michael J. Fox. If you haven't read his books, you should. They're wonderful. Very wise man. But he writes about saying, I don't have a choice, and I'm paraphrasing, that you have the illness, in his case, Parkinson's, but I have a million other choices that I can focus on. And for me, having that reminder about I have a choice, I can wreck myself, or I can stop now, or I can slow down and wreck myself less. That means that you're doing this more deliberately, more mindfully, about what's going on, and it gives you a sense of control. So that's, I think, is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day.